forgotten 1980s cartoons that'll make you feel like a kid. These shows were a huge part of our childhood. From action-packed adventures to silly laughs, the cartoons of the 80s had something for everyone. They brought heroes, villains, and unforgettable theme songs into our homes. Today, we're diving into the best 1980s cartoons that'll take you back in time. So grab your favorite snack and get ready to relive those amazing moments that made the 80s so special. You'll laugh, you'll definitely smile, but you might cry a little like I did. But let's get started. We can always cry later. Number 10. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was one of those shows that instantly took kids on an adventure. Imagine a young prince named Adam, who had a big secret. When he held up his magical sword and shouted, "By the power of Grayskull," he transformed into He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. He-Man's job was to protect Eternia, a magical world full of incredible castles, strange creatures, and never-ending battles. His enemy, Skeletor, was as unforgettable as He-Man himself. With his creepy skull face and evil laugh, Skeletor always made wild schemes to take over Castle Grayskull. But no matter what, He-Man and his trusty allies like Teela, Man-at-Arms, and the adorable Orko always found a way to stop him. The show wasn't just action-packed. It also taught simple lessons like teamwork and doing what's right. Kids loved the over-the-top battles and He-Man's iconic catchphrase, "I have the power!" It was pure 80s magic and still brings a smile to fans' faces today. Number 9. Dungeons & Dragons. Do you remember Dungeons & Dragons? The cartoon from 1983 was like an adventure coming to life. It followed a group of kids who got transported into a magical world after riding a roller coaster at an amusement park. They were given special powers by the mysterious dungeon master, and each became a different character, like a ranger, a wizard, or even an acrobat. The group faced all sorts of challenges as they tried to find their way back home. The villain, Venger, was always causing trouble, along with a 5-headed dragon, Tiamat. Each episode was packed with excitement and danger, but it also had heartwarming moments. Dungeons & Dragons stood out because it felt like you were right there, part of the quest. If you grew up playing the game, watching it on the small screen only added to the enjoyment. Chances are it brings back memories of pretending to be a hero with your own D&D adventures. Dungeons & Dragons was truly a one-of-a-kind show. Number 8. The Real Ghostbusters. The Real Ghostbusters was a cartoon that aired in the 1980s, and it was a big hit with kids everywhere. The show was based on the 1984 Ghostbusters movie, where a group of scientists turned ghost hunters take on supernatural creatures. The team, Peter, Ray, Egon, and Winston, used their awesome ghost-catching equipment to battle ghosts and protect the city. Man, the ghosts were quite creepy, gotta be honest. The show also highlighted Slimer, the green, mischievous ghost always causing trouble but still bringing laughs. Who was your favorite Ghostbuster? Peter, Egon, Ray, Winston, or even Slimer? Comment down below! One of the coolest things about the Real Ghostbusters was the way the team would trap ghosts using their famous proton packs. Kids loved how the team would chase down ghosts with their high-tech gear and teamwork. The mix of comedy and creepy creatures kept kids entertained week after week. It's no wonder the Real Ghostbusters still brings back so many great memories. Number 7. Thundercats. Thundercats was one of those cartoons that stuck with all 80s kids. It first aired in 1985, and everyone remembers the epic intro with the chant, "Thunder, thunder, Thundercats, ho!" The story was about a group of cat-like warriors who came from the planet Thundera. Led by Lion-O, the Thundercats fought to protect their new home, Third Earth, from evil villains like the creepy Mum-Ra. The show was filled with adventures. Lion-O, the leader, was super strong and had the magical Sword of Omens, which could see into the future and call for help. Each member of the Thundercats had their special powers, like Chitara, who was incredibly fast, and Tigra, who could create illusions. The team also had a mascot of sorts, the pudgy and lovable comic relief, Snarf. What made Thundercats so special was its combination of action, characters, and animation, making it memorable for anyone who watched it back in the day. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and drop a like if you want more of these trips down memory lane. Number 6. The Smurfs. Ah, the Smurfs. Those little blue guys who lived in mushrooms and always seemed way too cheerful. They were everywhere in the 1980s. The Smurfs had their tiny village, hidden away from humans, and each one had a personality based on their name. There was Brainy, who always thought he was smarter than everyone, but mostly annoyed the others. And Grumpy, who, well, he made sure to remind everyone that happiness isn't for everyone. And let's not forget Gargamel, the bumbling villain who couldn't catch a Smurf to save his life. Seriously, how hard can it be to catch creatures that are barely taller than a soda can? His sidekick cat, Azrael, seemed smarter than him most of the time, and way more relatable. The show was a perfect mix of adventure and humor, with the song so catchy it could get stuck in your head for days. La 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 la. Yeah, you're humming it right now, aren't you? Watching the Smurfs felt like a silly escape into a world where blue was the happiest color. Number 5. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Do you remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? It was one of the coolest cartoons in the 80s. The show followed 4 turtles, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael, who were trained by their rat sensei, Splinter. If you love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as much as we did, hit that like button and let us know what made the show special for you. These turtles weren't just your ordinary turtles. They were ninjas, fighting bad guys to protect New York City. Leonardo was the serious leader, Michelangelo was the fun-loving surfer, Donatello was the tech genius, and Raphael was the tough guy. The turtles' main enemy was the evil Shredder, who had his army of foot soldiers, and they were always causing trouble. But the turtles were ready to stop him with their awesome skills and cool weapons. Who could forget Michelangelo's catchphrase, Cowabunga? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a cultural phenomenon with toys, movies, and even comic books that made it one of the most unforgettable 80s cartoons. Number 4. Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget was that goofy detective with all sorts of crazy gadgets built into his body. From his hat that could turn into a helicopter to his arms that stretched like rubber, there was always something wild happening. But here's the thing. Even with all these gadgets, Inspector Gadget wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. He messes up his plans, leaving his niece Penny and her dog Brain to do all the real detective work. However, he always thought he was saving the day. One thing that stood out was his Go-Go Gadget. It was almost like a magical word that would activate his gadgets. And of course, there was always the villain, Dr. Claw, who would try to stop him. But no matter how hard Dr. Claw tried, Inspector Gadget never gave up, even if it meant he had no idea what was going on. Raise your hands if you're like an Inspector Gadget in real life. Inspector Gadget was all about fun, laughs, and gadgets that didn't always work the way they were supposed to, but somehow got the job done anyway. It's a show that made us smile every time we watched it. If this video made your day, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for even more exciting content. Number 3. DuckTales. DuckTales was one of the most beloved cartoons of the 80s. It followed the adventures of Scrooge McDuck, the richest duck in the world, and his 3 nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They traveled around the world getting into all sorts of wild situations, from facing dangerous villains to discovering hidden treasures. The McDuck family also had a loyal housekeeper, Mrs. Beakley, and Webby, a brave and curious girl who joined the adventures. The show had an unforgettable theme song, DuckTales, Woo! That was instantly recognizable. The bad guys, like the Beagle Boys and Magica De Spell, made the show even more exciting, and were always creating new challenges for Scrooge and the gang. Number 2. The Transformers. Time to talk about one of the coolest shows of the decade, The Transformers. It was all about 2 groups of robots, Autobots and Decepticons, who could transform into cars, planes, and other machines. The Autobots were the good guys, led by Optimus Prime, while the Decepticons, led by Megatron, were always causing trouble. The show had so many epic battles, but what made it stand out was the way the robots could change their shape. It was full of action and kids loved it. Who didn't want to imagine their car turning into a robot? I mean, I want it. Why not? The Autobots were always trying to protect Earth from the Decepticons. There were lessons about teamwork, friendship, and standing up for what's right. And of course, how could we forget? Transform and roll out. If you were a fan, you probably had some of the toys too. The Transformers became more than just a show. It was a part of our daily life at play during the 80s. Number 1. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was a cartoon that brought together Spider-Man, Firestar, and Iceman to fight villains and save the day. The show first aired in 1981 and ran for only 3 seasons. Spider-Man, of course, was the star, but what made the show special was his team. Firestar had the power of heat and flames, and Iceman could freeze anything with his ice powers. Together, they made a great team. Kids loved watching the trio take on famous villains like the Green Goblin, Dr. Doom, and the Vulture. The episodes were filled with teamwork, cool superpowers, and lots of epic battles. It was one of those cartoons that made kids feel like they could be heroes too. For many, it was a big part of their childhood, and the memories of watching it still bring a smile today. Watching these classics was a big part of growing up, and they still hold a place in everyone's hearts. Which of these cartoons did you love the most? Maybe there's one that wasn't on the list but should have been. Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more nostalgic content. Until next time, thank you for watching.